When bringing up the topic of Pokemon speedrunning, it's hard not to mention how influential Nidoking is to the landscape of Kanto speedruns. With Nidoking utilizing strategies such as abusing red HP bars to skip jingles, hitting horn drills with 1x accuracy, and skipping an entire section of gameplay with a Pokédoll. While these strategies are amazing, not a single thing I mentioned influences a Pokemon FireRed LeafGreen speedrun, not even Nidoking. But why? What could have changed to stop Nidoking from being the best mon for the remakes? Well, when going from Generation 1 Kanto to Generation 3 Kanto, you'll immediately notice how different the games are. We now have abilities, natures, IVs, EVs, and 3 starter Pokemon that beat the game perfectly fine without Nidoking's help. In fact, the best Nidoking time is slower than all 3 of them. One of the biggest factors to this downfall in power is the ability system. Putting a Pokemon in red HP no longer skips jingles. Instead, it gives all 3 starter Pokemon access to their abilities. Torrent, Blaze, and Overgrow give a massive boost to the starter Pokemon's moves that have a same type attack bonus when they're at 1/3 of their HP or lower. And abusing this ability all throughout the game is what starters do the best. Nidoking, however, only gets access to Poison Points, which only serves to slow down fights if the opponent gets poisoned. It's also slower to obtain Nidoking since Nidorann's spawn point changed from Route 22 in red or Route 2 in yellow all the way to Route 3. This makes it so that Nidoking is only reachable by the time you've beaten 5 trainers minimum and an entire gym leader. It's quite a ridiculous change, and because of this, Nidoran makes for a better HM friend than he does a speedrunning main to beat the game with. By this point, your starter Pokemon is pretty much ready to evolve once you've taken on the next Pokemon trainer in your way. This would take Nidoran a much larger amount of time to do, but hey, he learns Cut and Strength, which makes him pretty useful, if only it weren't for the fact that Leaf Green is the faster Pokemon game to speedrun on. FireRed has increased odds of getting a Nidoran male, while Leaf Green has higher odds of getting a Nidoran female. And while you can still access both Pokemon, the odds of getting a Nidoran male in Leaf Green drop so drastically low that it's not even worth considering unless it happens by pure chance. Because the Best HM Friend award for Pokemon Leaf Green goes to the version exclusive Sandshrew, who also learns Cut and Strength, but is much more accessible when going into Cerulean City. When you add the fact that Rattata is also there, these combined odds stack in our favor for a Pokemon to learn Cut. Just like you can increase the odds of getting cool Pokemon speedrunning content by subscribing to the channel. It's at this point that these starters are getting further and further ahead of Nidoking. And even though it can get moves like Thrash that destroyed Gen 1, the one move that truly broke open Red, Blue, and Yellow is now way too far out of reach. And that move is Horn Drill. Back in Generation 1 Pokemon games, TM07 Horn Drill could be bought from Celadon Mart. But once Pokemon FireRed LeafGreen came around, the list of buyable TMs changed, getting rid of Horn Drill alongside it. In fact, Horn Drill was no longer a TM at all, and could only be learned via leveling up for the entire Nidoran line. Nidorino learns this move by level 53, and Nidoran learns this by 47, while Nidoking doesn't learn this at all. Under normal circumstances, we would be at the Elite Four by the time we reach that level with a starter Pokemon. And while one-shotting Elite Four members would be amazing, the changes to X accuracy in Generation 3 ruins this potential. In Generation 1 and 2 Pokemon games, the use of an X accuracy would eliminate the concept of missing a move altogether, making it so that anything with Horn Drill, Fissure, Guillotine, or Sheer Cold would hit every single time. But in Generation 3, it would now be changed to a 1.5 times multiplier, but one that would not affect Horn Drill since the move itself has also changed to no longer be affected by accuracy boosts. This made the starter Pokemon the clear choice for speedrunning Pokemon FireRed LeafGreen, and overall made Nidoran useful for only a single category. But before I dive into this category, there's one more Pokemon that is without a doubt the fastest Pokemon to beat Pokemon FireRed LeafGreen with, and that Pokemon is Clefable. Clefable is only the fastest Pokemon in a Tass setting. Tass is short for Tool Assisted Speedrun, which strings together the best possible occurrences through using an emulator piloted by predetermined inputs. This makes so many things possible, like avoiding encounters without a repel, getting a critical hit when you can't KO a Pokemon without it, or making sure a Pokemon is caught at full HP with a Pokeball 100% of the time. And because of how precise this process is, humans will have to settle for using Squirtle as the fastest Pokemon, since we can't guarantee all the outcomes I listed above. And to make things even crazier, the reason why Clefable can even come out on top of Squirtle in the first place is through the use of Metronome, the most RNG-based move in the game. Metronome can call upon any move in the game except itself and the 17 other moves in Generation 3 Pokemon games. If humans were to try and abuse this move like a Tass would, who knows what outcomes would possibly happen.
Well, nothing can beat us except for ourselves. Please, please. We're finally at Agatha for the first time. I beg you, please just give me an attacking move.
But for a Tass, it becomes a Pandora's box of possibilities. In the Tass speedrun, Metronome will be used a total of 3 times on Lorelei for the moves Thunder, Zap Cannon, and Low Kick, 3 times on Agatha for Crunch, Extrasensory, and Blizzard, 2 times on Lance for Hydro Pump and Ice Beam, and finally, 2 more times to beat the champion with Thunder Punch and Hydro Pump, making Clefable the fastest Pokemon for tool-assisted speedruns by about 2 minutes compared to Squirtle. But for human viable speedruns, Clefable is currently the 3rd fastest Pokemon for speedrunning. But let's not forget about Nidoking. So far we've established that Nidoking has gone from the 1st fastest Pokemon in Red, Blue, and Yellow to the 13th fastest Pokemon for speedrunning FireRed LeafGreen. And while there's likely improvements for the route, the unfortunate reality is it will never be the fastest Pokemon for the main categories of FireRed LeafGreen, but will at least be useful for a category I didn't mention until now. This category is called Pokemon Fire Red Round 2, where the goal is to beat the game's stronger secondary Elite Four team as fast as possible. And the only way to do this is to reach the requirement of catching 60 Pokemon in order to unlock the national dex. Squirtle will once again take the stage for the fastest Pokemon to clear fights with, alongside Mewtwo later on once we've unlocked the Round 2 Elite Four. But in order to unlock it, we gotta catch those 60 Pokemon. And 2 of those Pokemon are usually Nidoran male. Nidoran male counts for a total of 6 Pokemon in the Pokedex, or 1/10 of the Pokemon you need to earn the national dex when you catch 2 of them. The first can be evolved into Nidorino and Nidoking, giving you a total of 3 dex entries, while the second can be traded away for a Nidoran female in order to evolve that line of Nidoran for 3 more dex entries. And while he's not the main Pokemon anymore for the remakes of Red, Blue, and Yellow, or even a great HM friend for them, Nidoking still manages to be pretty useful for at least one category in the remakes. If you want to learn more about these categories, I'll be covering them in a future video. So subscribe if you want to learn more about Pokemon speedrunning, and check out the playlist on the right for more videos like this one.